The news we have been waiting for throughout the day has just been made. This is an announcement on Truth Social by former President Trump. He has selected Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his vice presidential pick. And this is what he writes. After lengthy deliberation and thought, and considering the tremendous talents of many others, I have decided that the person best suited to assume the position of Vice President of the United States is J.D. Vance of the great state of Ohio.
Some people may look at this and remember what J.D. Vance used to say about Donald Trump. And he was a hardcore never-Trumper not very many years ago. And he reversed himself completely not that long ago. Then you think, well, is this person, how did he get the job? Did he get it because he was really the best qualified to be president, or did he get it because he sucked up effectively to the nominee?
Damn!
Wait, why didn't he just go with the last VP he had?
Clear on this point. It wasn't just that they asked for a pause. The president specifically asked me, and his gaggle of crackpot lawyers asked me to literally reject votes.
Oh, that's right. In today's breaking news, an adjudicated rapist with a decorated history bragging about sexual misconduct has went ahead and appointed the no-fault divorce white guy who says abused women should stay in violent marriages for the sake of the kids.
And this is one of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace, which is this idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, you know, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy. And so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term. And maybe it worked out for the moms and dads, though I'm skeptical, but it really didn't work out for the kids of those marriages.
A match made in Republican heaven, soon to be our hell unless we get our finger out. That's right, on day one of the RNC convention, Donald Trump announced his VP candidate, the man whose past comments disparaging the former president are so well documented that Fox News host Brett Baier took almost a full minute ramming them off to his face, one by one.
I know you've been asked about this before, about past comments that you've made about Donald Trump. You've said, I'm a never Trump guy, never liked him, terrible candidate, idiot if you voted for him, might be America's Hitler, might be a cynical a-hole, cultural heroine, noxious and reprehensible. Those are things that the left is going to come after you, and they're probably going to be put in ads should you be chosen as the VP pick.
But here's something I didn't expect in the wake of this announcement, right? Fox News host Brit Hume torching the man I once awarded the prestigious Most Shameless Republican Award. And it was a tough category, by the way. And the nominees for Most Shameless Republican, desperate for a seat at the table, are Ted Cruz and his performance in Sure He Called My Wife Ugly, but watch the applause that never ends. And last but certainly not least, the frontrunner, J.D. Vance in Pick Me, America's Hitler.
Yeah, well, I think that's absolutely right. It's not just that Donald Trump doesn't speak to issues of special concern to minority voters or black voters. It's that he seems to like actively antagonizing a lot of the black voters.
I actually think Trump is a much better model of statesman, which is he's tough, he's funny.
And the winner is J.D. Vance for Pick Me, America's Hitler. Your prize is a $60 Bible and 2 complimentary tickets to a, quote, all-black church event held by your cult leader in front of everyone at the RNC convention.
The news we have been waiting for throughout the day has just been made. This is an announcement on Truth Social by former President Trump. He has selected Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his vice presidential pick.
Some people may look at this and remember what J.D. Vance used to say about Donald Trump. And he was a hardcore never-Trumper not very many years ago. And he reversed himself completely not that long ago. And, you know, one of the things you worry about is when somebody's making a pick of for a potential president if something happens to him, then you think, well, is this person, how did he get the job? Did he get it because he was really the best qualified to be president, or did he get it because he sucked up effectively to the nominee? People will have questions about that.
Now, first of all, can we all take a moment to admire the irony of how in the past 24 hours MAGA have tried to blame the attempted assassination of Donald Trump on Democratic rhetoric, like referring to him as Hitler, only for Trump himself to go ahead and appoint a man who literally called him America's Hitler.
So my fear is, I think Donald Trump is not the right candidate for this group of voters. I think that this election is really having a negative effect, especially on the white working class, right? Because I think a lot of these grievances are legitimate, But what it's doing is it's giving people an excuse to point the finger at someone else. It's point the finger at Mexican immigrants or Chinese trade or the Democratic elites or whatever else. And sometimes these villains are legitimate. I think it's totally fair to say that the policy elites of the Democratic Party haven't been totally concerned about the white working class. But at the same time, fundamentally what's going on and what Donald Trump has done is change the focus of the white working class from a sort of engaged and constructive politics to a politics of pointing the finger.
But what else do we know about this man aside from his grotesque views on marriage and flip-flopping views on his now precious cult leader? Well, he believes the 2020 election was stolen.
So you're not troubled by the sexual assault and defamation. Let me ask you about January 6th. You've been mentioned as a possible vice president for Donald Trump. Had you been vice president on January 6th, would you have certified the election results?
Oh, George, this is such a ridiculous question, in part because the law has changed here. We, of course, had
I didn't ask you about going forward. I asked you what you would have done. I asked you what you would have done.
George, here's what I think. Here's what I think happened in 2020. And I know you guys are obsessed with talking about this. I have to make a point here. You constantly say to people like me, why do you talk about January the 6th? Why do you talk about the election of 2020? And then you ask about us multiple times during a 6-minute interview. But look, you asked the question and I'll answer it. Do I think there were problems in 2020? Yes, I do. Do I think it was a problem that big technology companies working with the intelligence services censored the presidential campaign of Donald Trump? Yes. Do I think it's a problem that Pennsylvania changed its balloting rules in the middle of the election season in a way that even some courts in Pennsylvania have said was illegal? Yes, I think these were problems, George, and I think there is a political solution to those problems. So litigating which slate of electors was legitimate, I think is fundamentally the political solution to the problems that existed in 2020. It's a reasonable debate to have, and I find it weird, George, that people like you obsess with what I call what happened in 2020. You're so incurious about what actually happened in 2020, which is why so many people mistrust our elections in this country. We've got to do better, George.
I'm not the least bit incurious. In fact, you laid out a litany there, but you didn't answer the question I asked. Would you have certified the election results had you been vice president?
If I had been vice president, I would have told the states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, and so many others that we needed to have multiple slates of electors, and I think the U.S. Congress should have fought over it from there. That is the legitimate way to deal with an election that a lot of folks, including me, think had a lot of problems in 2020. I think that's what we should have done.
So it's very clear you would have done what Donald Trump asked you to do there, not what Vice President Mike Pence did.
And supports a national abortion ban without exceptions for rape or incest.
And I want to thank especially Kevin Roberts and all of the Heritage Foundation for 50 years of incredible work on conservative policy. I think most Americans couldn't care less about Project 2025. I've reviewed a lot of it. There's some good ideas in there, Rob.
And doesn't believe in gay marriage, is a proponent of white supremacist great replacement theory, and supports Russia's war on Ukraine. So pretty much ticking all the boxes for the modern day GOP.
Same question.
Yeah, I voted for that in the House of Representatives. I will support codifying that into the Senate. But only J.D. Vance can say that the bill that codifies same-sex marriage is not about same-sex marriage.
Most importantly, as outlined in Project 2025, the only qualification he needs to have is to swear an allegiance to Trump.
They're assembling an army of future government bureaucrats who hate the government.
But I also think, that there's something comparable, between abortion and slavery, and that.
Hence proving the point why we can't allow Project 2025 to disappear from the news cycle. Trump is assembling a team of yes men, and this is just the first piece.
Every weekend, every time I'm on TV, I'm going to dig into these pages and parse exactly what is in this mandate. Today, we're kicking it off with abortion and reproductive rights. Abortion is mentioned 199 times through Project 2025. The foreword to the entire thing reads, quote, "The Dobbs decision is just the beginning. Conservatives in the states and in Washington, including the next conservative administration, should push as hard as possible to protect the unborn in every jurisdiction in America. In particular, the next conservative president should work with Congress to enact the most robust protections for the unborn that Congress will support while deploying existing federal powers to protect innocent life, and vigorously complying with statutory bans on the federal funding of abortion." Later on in the chapter on the Department of Health and Human Services, Roger Severino, a former Trump White House official, wrote, quote, "The secretary should pursue a robust agenda to protect the fundamental right to life. From the moment of conception, every human being possesses inherent dignity and worth. Abortion and euthanasia are not health care. He doesn't stop there. On medication abortion, he writes, abortion pills pose the single greatest threat to unborn children in a post-Roe world. FDA should therefore reverse its approval of chemical abortion drugs because the politicized approval process was illegal from the start, end quote. Project 2025 aims to prevent abortion from the moment of conception, which would likely involve establishing so-called personhood rights for embryos and fetuses. It aims to crack down on so-called abortion tourism, instances in which women travel to liberal states to seek abortions. It proposes using the Comstock Act to prosecute people who send abortion pills by mail. It aims to take away most medication abortion altogether.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.